It's Saturday afternoon where I am, but it is early in the morning in Kushiro, Japan. And we are going to do a short little flight today, taking off from Kushiro, Japan. I'm going to do a pass-by of this airport because it's one of the new handcrafted airports in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And we're going to take off and travel about 100 miles to the west to New Chitose, also in Japan. My handle is Lazy. My plane's name is the Pixel. And I go by the handle Pixel Lazy online and on YouTube, where I am posting my progress, which I'm making progress in a flight around the world in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I've been flying this little Cessna 172. I started in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, almost 2 months ago. Took off, headed west. Flew up to, flew down to Vancouver, up to Alaska, over to Russia. And I've spent the last few weeks traversing northern Russia on my way, and I got to Japan yesterday evening. I landed at Kushiro Airport. Like I said, one of the new handcrafted airports in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Beautiful looking airport with a Airbus parked out there in front. And it's dawn. It's about 5:30 in the morning, Sunday morning in Japan. Middle of Saturday afternoon where I am in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And like I said, about 111 miles directly west. And we're going to see what we can see in early morning of this interesting clear sky dawn. As I fly along, I'll see what I see and I'll share any interesting sights. Stay tuned. In my last video, I flew into Japan, which is where I am now. If you've been watching, I've been doing pretty much a series of long haul flights. It's taken me quite a while to get over here. And of course, I'm logging everything. Sometimes I'm logging it on my website, which I admit I'm not really keeping up with these days, but I started off with good intentions. But it had been a couple weeks. I had a gap in there. I had some technical problems, so I spent about 2 weeks and I didn't record anything. I didn't fly anywhere. Every time I logged in, there was something wrong, or some little issue was getting to me. And then sometime in there, I'd logged in and I had a chance to play, and I got the simulator to load up, and there was a major update that had come through, and it took a good 2 hours to download and install, and didn't think anything of it. Obviously, a good thing. Update, right? But then I've been flying in my last 3 flights. The flights went okay, but I was having some issues because I went to look at my logs, and what triggered me in the system was the Kushiro Airport, which I just took off from, was what's called a star airport. So if you go into the interface of Microsoft Flight Simulator, all the airports on the map are little dots, and then the major airports are larger dots, and then some of those airports, I think maybe about 50 or 60 of them around the world, maybe more. I haven't really looked that closely, but not very many. Like in this entire trip, this would have been the second time I've come across a star airport. It's got a little star, kind of like almost like an asterisk on the dot. So you get basically a double dot, and one of those dots is a star. And it goes to the achievement list of the game. So you get, when you land at 25 star airports, you get an achievement. No big deal. Not a huge thing. But, you know, if you're flying, you might as well collect them. But Kushiro didn't show up. So I'd landed at 1, Stewart, BC, a couple months ago. And then this Kushiro airport should have made it for 2, but my record in my logbook said I only landed at 1. So I went and looked deeper at the logs, and in fact, the last 3 flights it hadn't been recording my landings. In fact, it said I just sort of abruptly ended in the vicinity of an airport, which, if you've been watching the videos, I landed. But I've been really bad at kind of parking and going through the checklist. So I'll go park the plane, turn off the engine, and then just exit the game. And I guess before the update, that wasn't a big deal, but they've kind of cracked down on that. So perhaps in this video I'll walk through and I'll actually do the sign off, and I'll hopefully get the little exit message to appear. But I flew probably 8 practice flights out of Kushiro Airport in the last 24 hours since I flew into Japan. So I did quite a few landings in that airport, and I actually only got 2 to register. I probably landed 12 times. I did some touch and goes, I took off, I landed, did some short little flights, I looped around, I did some flyovers of the city, but I only got 2 to register. So I think I've got it figured out, and I'm going to try it on this flight to make sure it registers. But if it doesn't, that would be kind of a shame. These are really cool mountains, by the way. I really like that. It's kind of winding roads to the mountains. This is a very interesting landscape. So yeah, that was the what happened to me on my updates. And I was a little disappointed. So we're going to see if we can make it work this time as we continue on our flight. And that sun is just kind of peeking up over the horizon. Hopefully it'll be a little brighter, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of flight time. Flying over central Hokkaido, Japan, over these rolling mountains. Look like there's some roads that traverse them. Very interesting landscape. I love this. See you in a bit. I've been gaining some altitude. I could see these mountains when I was a lot further back. About halfway to Chitose, and I've been flying for probably half an hour, 45 minutes. This mountain range, I've been reading up on Wikipedia. Well, it's obviously that mountain range that we've been flying down for the last 4 or 5 flights. The Pacific Ring of Fire, that whole stretch up through the Kuril Islands, up through the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, and this one continues down. And as we're flying kind of westward now, we've been flying a lot of southbound, so we actually came from that direction, and now we're cutting across the island, headed towards Chitose, and towards the biggest airport in Hokkaido. Hokkaido is the name of the island that we're flying over. Japan is composed of a lot of islands, but there's 2 large ones. There's the main island, which is where everybody's more familiar with, where Tokyo and all those big cities are. And then this upper northern island, which is Hokkaido. The whole thing is one province or prefecture. And this mountain range kind of splits the island in 2. And we'll be crossing over. Hopefully I have enough altitude here. I think I do. But we'll see what we see. On the other side, it should be pretty similar landscape. A lot of rural landscape up here. And some small cities. But I'll be checking out the other side and we'll see what we see. As you can see, the sun is well up now. We're kind of took a good hour to come up, but 45 minutes to come up, I guess. But it's nice and bright out now. Definitely a little different from when we took off at that just pre-dawn glow of the sunset on the horizon. Casting some nice shadows on the landscape here. Been trying to lose some altitude as I've crossed over these mountains. I try and fly backwards as I'm showing you this view of these just amazing, amazing mountains. I assume that's largely due to the simulator simulating something, but as somebody who's read a lot of Japanese literature and watched a lot of Japanese films over the years, I know this is a gorgeous country. very picturesque country. Been really looking forward to flying here, in fact. I wouldn't say I read a lot of stuff, but I have a few authors that I like. There's a comic series from the 80s, Usagi Yojimbo, which is a kind of a ninja Ronin comic series. Of course, it's comics, so they're all animals. Like the Ronin is a rabbit. But go check those out if you haven't checked those out. If you're into comics at all, those are an amazing series. I have the first 4 books. They're each about 1,000 pages each. Just thick, phone book thick kind of comic books. Amazing stories. A lot of Japanese history interpreted in those. And then of course things like Miyazaki films that have come through. Disney has imported a bunch of those. There's books by a guy named Murakami I've been reading. In fact, that was one of the last books I read, was a book by Murakami. I'd like to fly over some of the locations he uses. I mean, the descriptions and the depictions are enough to make you want to travel here, so now that I'm virtually here, I might as well check those out. But yeah, that view kind of just got me. Wanted to share that. The new Chitose Airport seems like it's on my scope. We're gonna approach this thing and wait for landing clearance. I've lost most of my altitude at this point. I'm less than 1,000 feet above the ground. Guess I'm looking for probably a runway in the high 30s or single digits. If I get a runway in the teens, it means I'm gonna have to loop around and try a different approach. I think I overshot. I think with those landing lights, I was thinking that long gray strip, but that looks like a taxiway. This over here looks like the runway. This is apparently one of the largest airports, or the largest airport in Hokkaido, so on this whole island. It's the whole northern island of Japan. In this prefecture, this would be like the airport you'd fly into if you're coming to Hokkaido. You can see it's got a tower. I don't think it's been, I think the last time I flew into an airport with a tower like that was either Anchorage or Vancouver. And hopefully we get some clearance here soon, or I'm going to have to loop around and try again. No word yet.
500.
Let's see. Click runway 01. I don't think I'm going to get clearance for that.
Chitose Tower, Lazy Lima 125 is
think we're going to have to loop around and try that again.
Lazy Lima, 125, clear to land, runway 36 right. 1279 at 3.
Fly straight in runway 36 right, Lazy Lima, 125.
Got clearance to land on the 36 right, which would be, I think I was lined up on 36 left. So we will give it another try. Loop around. My landings are not cooperating with me. It's been a long time since I had to land at a big airport like this with any sort of controls. Usually the last 10 or 15 legs of this trip have just been on little airstrips or tiny little remote airports. So that is going to be one of the challenges for the next little while, because throughout Japan I think I'm going to hit a lot of these nice big airports. Drop my flaps here. Do a sharp U-turn.
500.
Maybe not that sharp. I think I'm going for the one on the right there. We'll see what I get for clearance. They yell at me when I land. Luckily in these little planes, I did try flying one of those big jumbo jets, and there is no room for error in one of those. Oh yeah, there's 01R. It's labeled 01, but it's basically 36, because same basic direction. Just try not to drop too hard on that runway. Looks like a big airport, 2 towers, holy smokes. Almost going slow enough to stall.
Lazy Lima, 125, contact ground on ONE21.7.
121.7 for Lazy Lima, 125.
Wait for taxiway. Hoping I get some sort of guidance to get off this thing, because I don't know where I'm going. This looks like a real maze of taxiways and everything, so we'll get off the runway right away. Slow down a little bit. Hit the brakes. Probably should have stopped. Going way too fast. There's a little quirk on my control, how I've got my control set up. I've got a joystick and a mouse, and obviously I have to use a keyboard here and there. But if I put the mouse focus on the wrong window, which I was trying to do while I was trying to get ground control to acknowledge me, so I'm looking for a place to park. If I do that, then I lose control. My joystick stops working for some reason. So that can be a real problem when you're trying to control where you're going. Yeah, I'm just going to stop the video here, and I'm going to figure out where I'm going to park, and then I'm going to walk you guys through what I have to do to get my my video to, or my flight to acknowledge that I landed. So it made me drive across 2 other runways and taxi. I've been taxiing for about 4 minutes to get over here. I have a feeling I landed on the wrong airstrip. I think there's a international airstrip and a general aviation airstrip. It would make sense that they'd send me to the general, but I think I landed on the big jumbo jet airway. Didn't really yell at me too much. It's making me drive all the way over here, and then we'll have a look at where we need to go. But I was way over at that other airport with those jumbo jets over there, right beside that tower way back in the background. It's made me. I requested taxi to parking, and it gave me this like paragraph long explanation of where to go and the little blue arrows on the ground, thankfully. Otherwise I would never have found this. And we're definitely speeding, almost enough to take off here. We should be very careful. And I'm going to park it. And what I'm looking for, and this is one of the only times I'm going to do this, get you right to sign off, is with the update. I now have to like shut down the whole plane and get everything to acknowledge that it's all shut down, which means I'm going to go through the checklist. I got a nice little blue box I got to aim for over there. Try not to overshoot. There we go. Parked it. Now we're going to go up and we're going to look at our checklist. We're going to do after landing.
Flaps up. Landing light.
We're just going to click through these just to make sure, because strobe off. Set our trim. Turn off our transponder. Complete. Turn off the avionics. Turn off the engine. Turn off our magnetos. There we go. That's the screen I was looking for. Complete flight. 1 hour and 21 minutes. Takeoff. Landing. RJCK to RJCC. Welcome to New Chitose. Thanks for watching. See you next time.